What if I told you that something as boring sounding as a tariff has sparked recessions, riots, and even toppled economies? And today, they're back in the spotlight, thanks to a certain someone. By the way, his tariffs have already backfired once, and we'll get to that later in this video. Hey, this is Coinrad, and today we're talking about 5 times tariffs blew up spectacularly, and what that tells us about the ones making headlines now. So what's a tariff anyway? A tariff is basically a tax on imports. Governments slap it on foreign goods to make them more expensive, hoping people will buy local stuff instead. Sounds simple, right? Protect your industries, collect some revenue, everybody wins. Except history shows not everybody wins. Sometimes tariffs hit back like a boomerang, hurting the very countries that impose them. Let's go through 5 of the most dramatic cases where tariffs didn't just fail, they spectacularly backfired. Number 1. The Great Depression-era tariff spiral in the 1930s. We'll start with the granddaddy of tariff disasters. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. The U.S. was sliding into the Great Depression, so Congress thought, let's protect American jobs by taxing foreign imports. So what happened? Other countries retaliated with their own tariffs. Global trade didn't just slow down, it crashed. International trade dropped by more than 60% in just a few years. American farmers who relied on exports were crushed. Industries saw fewer buyers. The Depression got worse, not better. It's the economic equivalent of trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Smoot-Hawley became a textbook case of how a trade war can make everyone poorer. Number 2. Russia's grain tariffs and the famine disaster in 1891. In the early 1890s, Russia decided to protect its farmers with high tariffs on imported grain. On paper, it sounded smart, keep foreign competition out and boost local agriculture. But then came 1891. A terrible drought hit, harvests failed, and food prices shot up. Instead of easing the crisis, the tariffs kept imports expensive, making grain shortages even worse. Millions of peasants went hungry, and hundreds of thousands died in one of the worst famines in Russian history. The government's response was slow and clumsy, and public anger grew. What was meant to strengthen the rural economy ended up undermining it, and showed just how dangerous tariffs can be when they collide with bad luck and bad policy. Number 3. Argentina's pre-1890 crash tariffs. Argentina in the late 19th century was booming, a rising star with lots of foreign investment. But its government leaned heavily on protectionist tariffs to support local industries. Add reckless borrowing, and you've got a dangerous mix. When global markets tightened, investors fled. Argentina's exports collapsed under the weight of its own tariff policies and debt burden. By 1890, the country plunged into a full-blown economic crisis. The government defaulted on its loans, banks failed, and riots erupted in Buenos Aires. The tariffs were supposed to protect growth. Instead, they made the economy brittle. One shock and it all came crashing down. Number 4. Italy's grain tariffs in 1880s. Now to Italy in the late 1800s. Facing cheap grain imports from places like Russia and America, Italy decided to protect its farmers with steep grain tariffs. Good for farmers, right? Not quite. Urban workers suddenly faced higher food prices. At the same time, France, one of Italy's main trade partners, retaliated with tariffs of its own. Italian exports dried up, and the economy stumbled. The diplomatic fallout was just as bad. Italy's relationship with France soured, pushing it into new political alliances. A tariff designed to secure food security ended up causing food riots, economic pain, and a messy shift in international politics. Number 5. The Trump-China tariff war from 2018 until 2020. And now, the modern case you were waiting for. Under President Donald Trump, the U.S. launched a tariff war against China in 2018. The goal was to punish China for unfair trade practices and bring back American manufacturing. Here's what happened. China retaliated with its own tariffs, especially targeting U.S. agriculture. American farmers lost one of their biggest export markets almost overnight. The government had to hand out billions in subsidies to keep them afloat. Meanwhile, U.S. consumers faced higher prices on everything, from washing machines to electronics. Did it work? Not really. The trade deficit didn't shrink significantly, jobs didn't flood back, and supply chains got messy. By 2020, studies showed the tariffs cost American consumers and businesses tens of billions of dollars. And here's the kicker. Tariffs from that trade war are still partly in place today, And they're back in the headlines again as Trump talks about more of them. History is practically waving a giant warning flag. So what's the lesson here? Tariffs can be a powerful tool, but they're also risky. Use them wrong, and they hit your own economy harder than your rivals. They can raise prices, spark retaliation, scare off investors, and turn trade partners into enemies. From the 1930s to today, the pattern is clear. Tariffs that start as protection often end up as self-inflicted wounds. This is Coinrad, and if you liked this, hit that subscribe button. There's plenty more economic weirdness, history, and money madness where that came from.